Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. Napoli have a new coach, and it's the Frenchman Rudi Garcia. Right, let's get right into this. Alright, let's get right into your comments. I know that a lot of people are gonna be wondering, what just happened? What just happened? Uncle Sharma from Intervideo says, what the F? Lorenzo More 14 says, smash the like button before Dom comes on. Well, now it's a little late because I'm on, but keep smashing that like button, guys, if you want Garcia to win us the treble next season. Which, if he does, oh my god. That's going to be impossible. Maximus131 says Victor will be gone after this season. Napoli Nation TV says would be nice to hear what Victor truly thinks. Guys, Victor's not going to say anything. He's not going to say, oh yeah, I really don't like this guy. Oh, I really, don't want to play for him. No, he's gonna either leave because of this, or he's gonna stay and see what's up, right? And remember, a few years back we had Higuain who stayed because of Sarri. And Sarri was a guy that was coming from Empoli. So you never know what the feel is going to be like between the manager and the players. Maybe they create some sort of special bond. Rabona TV, welcome, says this is a depressing downgrade. So let me start off maybe with a bit of a poll to get your opinion on Rudy Garcia. So let's start a little poll and let's ask, what do you think about this? And let's go with the options we had in the previous video. We'll win the treble, we'll contend for the title. Let's add another option of top 4, and then the other option is horrible, not top 4, or awful, not top 4. All right, let's get some people voting on this one, and let's see what you guys think. Now, if any of you guys vote will win the treble, you are sick in the head. Let's see, a lot of votes coming in, guys. Keep voting and keep smashing that like button. I can see those mouse cursors moving to vote, so you better smash that like button. All right, let's go with the very top message because I want to get your opinion and then I'll say my opinion about it. Tem says, I don't know about Rudy Garcia, but definitely it was time to go for Spalletti, because I'm pretty sure if we had a different coach we could be playing against Manchester City. Just my opinion. Okay, so he's saying that Spalletti was not the right man. I don't believe that. Spalletti was definitely our guy. Matteo Casale says, praying for all our fratellos with high blood pressure. This and that Italy performance were not what we had in mind. We have to give Rudy our full support though. Yeah, I was watching that Italy game. Super disappointing second half. And I do agree with you. We got to give Rudy the benefit of the doubt before this all starts. Maximus says, Enrique, Nagelsmann, maybe Zidane, nope, Rudi Garcia. Huh? I know those three weren't going to happen, but this is a C-tier higher at best. I want to give a shout out to Vincenzo Bertillo with the $13.99 Canadian dollars. Says he took over Roma after Luis Enrique failed badly and had successive second place finishes behind a strong Juve, not unlike Spalletti, capable of winning the league with us, in my opinion. Forza ADL and Rudy. So we got someone who is a believer, and I'll get into that later because it's interesting what he did with Roma in the first 3 seasons. We'll get into that. Let me get a few more comments, guys. Let's see. There's some haters in here. Payment Edgar says, I'm on a flight, so may not be able to listen now. Please talk about ambition and whether or not winning the league would be a failure. Also about his style of play in recent years. If you're not Real, Bayern, or a Premier League team, you will not be able to build. This is why I want rich owners. So Payman says this is all an issue of De Laurentiis. Napoli Nation TV says Rudy Garcia needs our support, but it's hard not to believe this is a downgrade. I rated him 10. Had just won a league title with Lille. He was up and coming. Good second place finish, first season at Roma. It seemed like his trajectory was on the up. Now, previous seasons have not been amazing for him, but let's get into that. But before, let me get maybe 3 more comments. Umberto Castaldo says, we deserved better. We have a top team, amazing young players. We won the cup and we won the league, and only one of the teams in Serie A that does not have financial issues. We deserve a top manager. And Sufuskova says it's so frustrating because the squad we're building has so much more potential than this failed coach comes in. Garcia really has something to prove. Hazm Amir says if it was 10 years ago, it would have made sense. Jerry says this is not the announcement I was holding my breath for. It definitely doesn't scream ambition, but let's see how the season unfolds. And Luca De Rosa says he did bring Lyon to Champions League semis, beating Juve along the way. Matt Marcos says late night video from Dom. You guys catch me at a great time this week to make these kind of videos because, and I'll explain, I finished last week my studying for the year. Well, up until late September, and I had a week off, guys. I had a week off. I hadn't had a week off in ages, so I was off when I made the video the other day, yesterday. I'm off today. I don't have to worry about doing any assignments, going to work, and this beautiful sensation lasts only until Monday. And Monday I start work for 3 months, and then I go back to studying again. But you have me for today, doing a late night video on a weekday, which is amazing, for Napoli to make their announcement right now. Right, let me address some of these comments, and let's go maybe to this page here. Right, so a bit of context, because what a crazy 24 hours. All right, we had this morning L'Equipe put on their front page Galtier au pied du volcan, which means Galtier at the feet of the volcano, which is obviously our volcano, right? Vesuvius. And there's like a huge Napoli logo with Galtier looking up, super ambitious, smile on his face, and this whole article inside about him getting super close to Napoli and why he would be the right man for Napoli. He's looking for a new experience. He's beaten so many Italian teams when he's played in the Champions League. And then the fact that a French newspaper was not able to predict that within that day another French coach would be Napoli's manager, that looks so bad on L'Equipe. Like, you have no idea. Someone is getting fired today. All right? And it's not Rudy Garcia. All right? He's not going to get fired on his first. I know you guys want him fired on his first day. It's not Rudy Garcia. It's whoever decided to run with that front page of L'Equipe could not have chosen a worse day to do it. I mean, if he did it yesterday, maybe that would have been different, but they did it today. Ben Payne says, bruh, who is Rudy? Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration. People know who Rudy Garcia is. Coached none other than the mighty, the one and only Cristiano Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia last season. So, you know, Cristiano knows who he is. Obviously, he won a League One title with Lille back in the recent 2010-11 season. So, yeah. Silvio SSC Napoli says, I was holding on building a team for a winning cycle, but really I can't see that happen right now. So, let's go back to what happened today. L'Equipe, super trustworthy website, puts that front page out. We all think that Galtier is coming. And then, out of nowhere, in the the communication from this team is, oh my God, why is it run so poorly? It's so bad. They did it in the middle of Italy-Spain. Italy-Spain were playing a Nations League game. All right? People are at home watching it. Did they think that we would all be distracted and not realize that Rudy Garcia would be the new coach. Like, people were just watching Italy, Spain, and then they would close the TV, go to bed, go on Twitter the next day, and by then this is old news and there'd be some crazy new video out on Twitter. And we would just not realize that Rudy Garcia is our new coach. Is that what De Laurentiis thought was going to happen? Because that's exactly what he did. In the middle of Italy playing, he announces Rudy Garcia, and he says, I have it translated there for you guys that don't speak Italian. Says, I have the pleasure of announcing that after having met and frequentato doesn't mean attended. Frequentato means when you interact with people. So after having met and having interacted during the last 10 days with Mr. Rudy Garcia, he will be the new coach of Napoli. A sincere welcome to him and good luck. In bocca al lupo. Right. So everything happened in the last 10 days. He had this famous list of 40 names. He did say he wanted a coach that played the 4-3-3. He didn't want to pay any penalties to get free. To get another coach out of their contracts. He wanted it all to be free. So all things were pointing towards Rudy Garcia. He's a 4-3-3 merchant and out of a job after having been sacked by a Saudi Arabian team. And Rudy Garcia later, 5 minutes later, posts on Twitter saying, what a pleasure to embrace or marry this Napoli project. What a pleasure to return to Italy. I'm motivated and ambitious now as ever to continue carrying the colors of the Italian champion. Oh, let me stop reading that Google translation because it's horrible. Let me translate normally. He says, I'm motivated and ambitious right now, like never before, to continue carrying the flag and the colors of the champions of Italy very high. Rudy Garcia. Right? Google Translate is just horrible right now. So this is what happened in the last hour, and obviously we're here to talk about it. Let me get some of the more recent comments while I've, brought everybody up to speed with what just happened in the Napoli multiverse. But first, let me see. There's a few donations, so let me get to those first. Payment Edgar said, "You misunderstood me," and he also paid £4.99. So I apologize that I misunderstood you. He says, on this, I'm not blaming ADL. I am saying no one can compete with the Premier League. ADL has to stay prudent. This is why we are sustainable. All right. I to be fair, I didn't read the second half of your comment before. I apologize for that. And thank you for the donation. Umberto Castaldo with the $5 donation says, why did so many managers say no to this project? Is it because of the players? I don't think so. Right. And he continues to say that ADL thinks he's a media mastermind, but he's far from it. I mean, he does love these cinematic things. All right. Let's talk about why, before we talk about Rudy Garcia, let's talk about why not the other managers, okay? And here's the thing. You gotta let's go back to before we got Spalletti. We were coming off the back of a 7th place and a 5th place finish under Gattuso. And at the end of the day, any manager would have loved that job because it's kind of hard to do worse, right? You're already not in the Champions League. So if you go there and you do all right, you probably would get a top 4 finish and you look like God on earth, let alone if you win a Scudetto, which is what happened with Spalletti. Now, you would think that after having won the Scudetto and having such an amazing squad, which really should have gone to the Champions League final and could have given Man City a hard time, and with a team that has the defender of the Serie A, the top striker of the Serie A, the MVP of the Serie A, you would think that this is a team that any manager would love to coach. Wrong. You're wrong. This is not a team that managers want to get anywhere near. And I'll tell you why. They have way too much to lose. Way too much to lose. If you are Luis Enrique, right? If you are Nagelsmann, if you are Galtier, you want somewhere that you don't risk the chance of ruining your reputation, which is quite high. All right? And let's face it, if you don't win the Scudetto with Napoli next season, you are going to be forever that guy who could not be better than Spalletti. You are going to be the guy that took Napoli backwards. And trust me, these managers don't want that. They don't want it. But who then would be willing to take on this Napoli job? It would be a guy that has nothing to lose. A guy that his career is on a downwards trajectory, where even if he doesn't win the Scudetto, it's still better than being unemployed. And it's still better than what he previously did, which was coach in Saudi Arabia and get sacked from Marseille and Lyon and from Roma and all that. Rudy Garcia has nothing to lose by coming to Napoli. And if he does manage to win, he will kickstart his career. And people will talk about him like 10 years ago. So, he is someone that is motivated to take this job much more than other managers who are fearful of this job. All right, so that's why a lot of those managers said no. It's not because we have a bad squad or because of it's because we set the bar too high and it's super hard to sustain this unless you go and you keep all your key players and you keep buying more, because you can't just keep the same team. Other teams that have tried to do that haven't been successful in re-winning the title next year or going further in the Champions League. You got to add. And I don't think De Laurentiis feels like he wants to or needs to add to this team. I think he feels that with this team, we're good enough to ride the wave of what Spalletti did. But for some managers, that's way too risky. For Garcia, he's ready to take that risk. And then, as we said before, why would De Laurentiis be interested in him? It's because he plays a 4-3-3. He knows the league. More than that, he has coached Roma, which is, apart from Napoli, the hardest managerial job in all of Italy. You think coaching Milan, Inter, or Juventus is hard? It is nowhere near as hard as coaching Roma or Napoli, because the fan base is hungry for success, deprived of success, and we live football in a much stronger way than they do up north. So the pressure that Garcia was on in Rome was super high. And he was able to deal with that from day one. He got a great second place in his first 2 seasons for Roma, and only, as Vincenzo pointed out, only didn't win that title, or didn't come close to winning that title, because of an amazing Juventus team at the time. One that reached above 100 points in Rudy Garcia's first season. But guys, Rudy Garcia in his first season got 85 points for Roma, which is only 5 away from what we did this season. So he's not a bad coach. He knows how to play in Italy. So that's a bit of context. Then we'll go over, how he likes to play and all that. But let me read some of your comments. Let me see if you guys agree with this analysis of why we went for Rudi Garcia and why Rudi Garcia accepted us, as opposed to maybe other managers that were a bit more hesitant. So let me see what you guys are saying. SJ says, can anybody enlighten me on Rudi Garcia's track record? We will do that. Paul says, I watched some Lyon games under him in 2021, looked really good and was good fun. Marcelo Gallardo would have been perfect for Napoli, says Hamza Amir, which is the River Plate manager, for those of you that don't know. I think he would have been a good shout. Definitely is able to withstand the pressure of an important club, because River is a super important club, but doesn't have that European experience, so super risky. Jack Pescara says, we hired a joke of a manager. Guys, I don't think it's a joke of a manager. That's a bit rough. That's a bit tough. Maybe he's a bit out of the picture right now over the last 2 seasons. But remember, 2 seasons ago, he reached the Champions League semi-finals. Okay, so he's not your average guy on the street. He's someone that has performed at a good level before. And he reached the semi-finals with Lyon. Not PSG or Bayern, or with Lyon. He reached the semi-finals. And was actually, I think, not bad in doing that. Like, he didn't get lucky doing that. He reached it out of merit. Let's see. Vincenzo saying, Garcia's family is from Andalusia, like the goat Picasso. I love that. Gechila says, bro got kicked out of Al Nassr and became Napoli coach. How embarrassing. Guys, the whole Al Nassr thing, I wouldn't even take that into... I'm not even going to analyze what he did at Al Nassr. It's a completely different context with Cristiano Ronaldo coming in. It's hard to, I think, manage that sort of environment where you've got a superstar like Ronaldo coming in halfway, and God knows what demands Ronaldo had. Let's see some more comments. Maybe the timing was on purpose, because the name Rudy Garcia is underwhelming for sure. For sure he did that on purpose. Payman says, Umberto, top coaches demanded salaries ADL would not pay, and they make big player demands. No team outside the Premier League can build proper projects. Look, I don't think Galtier's salary, for example, would have been a problem. He wanted 4 to 5 million. With the growth decree in Italy that you have, which is when you haven't lived in Italy for the past 2 years, you can come to Italy and your employer doesn't pay as much taxes on the gross salary. So you can, for the same net salary, De Laurentiis would pay not too much extra. So he, for example, if Galtier earns 5 million, De Laurentiis would have to pay 6 million and cover only 1 million in tax, for example. Whereas if he did that with Spalletti, if he were to pay 6 million to Spalletti, if he were to pay 6 million out of his pocket, Spalletti would only receive 3 million, because it's a 50% tax for those who are already living in Italy. Anyways, I don't want to get too much into that, but it definitely helps bringing in people from abroad. Vincenzo says, no matter what Adiele does, people will continue to doubt him, apparently. And that's another key point, right? Like, how many times has this man proved us wrong? Or maybe the majority of people wrong? And at what point are we going to give this man the benefit of the doubt that he knows what he's doing, he knows who he's picking? Because honestly, he's earned it this season. If what he did this season, the choices he made, he was correct. He knew the team he had, he knew the coach he had, and said, together you guys can do something great, and I don't need to buy more players or different players. These are the players that you guys need, and I'm gonna sell you Koulibaly, Fabian, all those guys, and give you these other guys, and this is the squad that's gonna win us the title. He was right. And other times he came pretty close, I would say. Ever says, the choice of Rudy Garcia means only one thing. For whatever reason, nobody wanted to coach Napoli right now. And I think I explained quite well my opinion on why that is. I think people are seeing Napoli as, if I go there and I don't win the Scudetto, which is super difficult to do, then I have failed. And if you go to a team where it's either number one or fail, it's super tough. So let's get some other people in. Tyson says this is definitely the right choice. So that's interesting. Vincenzo also says the last time we bought a big name winner and ended in flames. He's obviously talking about Ancelotti. 6 million in salary, big expectations, and didn't do well. Garcia has a similar profile to Spalletti and knows the league. Yeah, I mean, they definitely have something in common. Not only are they both ex-Roma coaches, but Spalletti took over from Garcia in that 15-16 season. So when Roma did that, they knew that with the team that Rudy Garcia had been building over the last 2.5 seasons, Spalletti could work with that because their philosophies are at times very aligned. Which brings me to the point of, all right, so how does Garcia like to play football? What's his style? What's his reason to be? And here's the thing, right? He's coached several different teams, so it's gonna vary. But let's focus on, for example, his Roma days. All right, and he's been there for 2.5 seasons. So I'm gonna say over the course of those 2.5 seasons, what I saw from him is that he wanted a strong midfield, a muscular midfield. And he loves, for example, Strootman, who he brought back to France after his experience at Roma, right? He loves that type of guy that goes in and, tackles hard. But he also had that with De Rossi and Nainggolan. He likes really tough guys in the middle. I wouldn't say they're the type of players that play beautifully aesthetic football. He really wants tough people in the middle. That's a risk to guys like Zielinski. Maybe even to guys like Lobotka, who are maybe not super tough, but it's more about the passing and it's more about the flair. I see Zielinski especially at risk under Rudi Garcia. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe he doesn't fit the profile that we need. Whereas maybe Lobotka stands a bit better of a chance. He's a very different player from, for example, De Rossi. But Lobotka actually has this incredible ability to win the ball back. He's great at tackling. It's a super underrated aspect about him. But he's got great timing to put his foot somewhere and steal the ball. This is something Zielinski doesn't have. And maybe he's at risk. Anguissa, on the other hand, is the perfect player for Rudi Garcia. Then, in attack, he loves pacey wingers. So, in his Roma days, back from his days at Lille, when he won the title, he had Gervinho. And he brought Gervinho over to Roma. And Gervinho, for those of you guys that watched him play, he's a pace merchant, super fast player, big forehead as well. I don't know why I said that. That's totally unnecessary to call out his forehead, but it was huge. You guys, his hair started here. It was madness. Super fast winger. And then he had on the right other guys I think it was Iturbe and El Shaarawy. He wanted pacey wingers in a 4-3-3. And I think that Kvara could do really well with Garcia on the right. I joked around on Twitter saying we should get Adama Traoré on the right, because he's basically Gervinho, super fast. Strong as well, which is what Garcia wants. And then people were like, please don't even joke about getting Adama Traoré. I don't even think he's that bad. I think with the right coach, he could actually be a good player to keep on the bench. So who knows? But yeah, I mean, I see, for example, guys like Elmas and Zielinski at risk. I just feel like he wants guys that are super explosive or super strong. Whereas Zielinski and Elmas are a bit more technical. So I don't know. Osimhen would be great for Garcia. He can help with those counterattacks. Lozano could be great. Even Politano could be great for Garcia. But I see Elmas and Zielinski a little bit at risk. Right, let's go with some of the comments. The Gervinho violation, says Joseph. I know. I can't talk about Gervinho without bringing up his hairline. Actually, I think his hairline goes further back than that, because he had a huge forehead and then he had like a bandana over, like beyond the huge forehead, and then his hair started. It was insane. For those of you that are maybe too young or don't remember or whatever, like Google Gervinho's, absolutely insane. All right, enough Gervinho slander. He was a great football player. Joseph Cercone says Lozano isn't even that quick. He's not even fast enough to control his own touch. That's true. Lozano and his touch. But the Lozano that we saw in that Frankfurt game, man, where did that guy go? Because that's the kind of Lozano that Garcia would love. But as you say, his touch is really lacking. And I've called it out a lot of times. I even made a meme about it on the Instagram page, which hasn't been super active. I'm sorry about that. But you have to know the Instagram page that I have is really, like, I really want to keep it just for the memes, and not so much to celebrate the good times. I want it to be like checks and balances, right? The videos and Twitter, we can celebrate all the good times together, and then the Instagram page is supposed to be like to pick us up when things go bad with memes. And maybe this is a great chance to make a new meme, because I feel like a lot of you guys need to be picked up a little bit. Tyson says, keep in mind Anguissa was coached by Rudy at Marseille and he reached the Europa League final with that average team. Tyson, that is a brilliant point that I did not know about. You encyclopedia of football. Thank you for that. That's amazing insight, and I think a lot of people didn't know that. TT says Arda Güler to Napoli on the right would be a freak. Dude, if we get Arda Güler, that would be incredible. 18-year-old kid from Fenerbahce, been playing with the first team for the last 3 years. Absolutely insane player. Insane. Let me go to some earlier comments, guys, because I missed quite a few. Lewis says, I don't like Garcia, but I hope we get top 4. Roberto Luongo says, so the fact that we haven't even announced a sporting director yet has plenty to do with why managers walked away. That's another great point that Roberto brings up in one of the earlier comments of the chat. This was all done by De Laurentiis. And actually, let's go back to this tweet that he says. Let's go, like, put on your English high school literature bucket hat on. Why did I say bucket hat? Just a normal hat on. All right. And let's analyze this statement, because there's a huge hint in there. All right. Let's really analyze this. Because De Laurentiis, he chooses every word very carefully. He says, I have the pleasure, I have a dream, I have the pleasure to announce that after having met and interacted, frequentare means like interacted frequently, in the last 10 days, Rudy Garcia will be the new Napoli coach. Careful here, because he is implying that he did all the work here. He met Rudy Garcia, he interacted with Rudy Garcia frequently. There doesn't seem to be a lot of Giuntoli in this picture. It seems to be like he decided this on his own. He took matters into his own hands, which is fair enough. The president is the guy that's meant to be choosing the coach. Happens in a lot of teams. But for some reason, I get a feeling like he's trying to overly emphasize the fact that it was all him, that Giuntoli had nothing to do with this, which is interesting. I think he also alluded to that in one of his earlier press conferences a few days ago, maybe last week or something, where he said, I'm picking the coach and I'm doing this and I have 40 names on my list. It wasn't on Napoli's list, it was on my list. In all of this, I don't know if Giuntoli had too much to contribute. And the reality is that Giuntoli wants to leave. Not because he hates Napoli or anything like that. He feels like his work there is done. And with Spalletti leaving, we need to start a new cycle. And he doesn't feel like he wants to start a new cycle because he's been here for 9 years. He's won a Scudetto already. Wants to try something different. On the other hand, De Laurentiis says, well, you've got a contract until 2024, so you're not going anywhere. At the same time, because I know that you're going to jump ship next year, I'm not going to give you the keys to deciding who the new manager is. You're going to be doing something else. I don't know what that something else is. Transfers? I don't know. Maybe. But feels like his influence over Napoli is definitely not super high at the moment, Giuntoli. Mike Ekstad, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, I wanted Gautier, but I still like this choice. So Mike likes a bit of French. Vincenzo Bertillo says, ADL plucked him from obscurity. Give him some credit. I think he's talking about... Well, they're having a little back and forth. They're having a bit of back and forth. Yeah, so basically Vincenzo's saying how Giuntoli was, brought on by De Laurentiis out of nowhere. I mean, Giuntoli was with Carpi before. He brought Carpi from Serie C to Serie B, from Serie B to Serie A, which is an incredible achievement. Or no, maybe just from B to A. Because from... Did he join them? Did Carpi go from Serie C to Serie B? Maybe yes, but maybe not in consecutive years. Anyways, Giuntoli was taken from a promotion side and brought on by Napoli. So we made Giuntoli who he is today, and Giuntoli definitely knows that. I mean, he's grateful. We gave him a career. And he's got a contract. I mean, fair play to De Laurentiis, man. He wants contracts to be respected. And especially if Giuntoli wants to go to Juventus, nah, bro, respect your contract. There's a reason why you sign. If you didn't like the contract, if you wanted to leave earlier, then you wouldn't have signed this contract. Right. Let's go find some other comments. Silvio SSC Napoli says, we need a coach that attracts star players, not a guy that just coached in Saudi Arabia. Otherwise, we'll have to hope on our great scouting, but that can change quickly as well with Giuntoli leaving. Now, some might say that he attracted Cristiano Ronaldo to Saudi Arabia, and it wasn't because of the money. No, I'm kidding. There's no way Ronaldo went to Saudi Arabia because of Garcia. He went for the money. But, look, Garcia is the type of manager that is not going to demand things from De Laurentiis. I'm not saying that we're not going to buy anyone. I'm just saying he's not going to demand the moon and the stars. He's going to say, look, I want a pacey winger. Can you give me a pacey winger? Look, I want some muscle in the midfield. Can you give me some muscle in the midfield? But he's not going to say, give me Frank Kessie or give me Vinicius Jr. Whereas if you go for a Luis Enrique, he's going to say, give me a Vinicius Jr. I mean, it's just not going to work out, in my opinion. There's no point in having a better manager in, but he doesn't get along with the club. But that's when you get situations where the club and the manager and the players are not getting along, and you're like, why is this team not performing? They've got all these good players and a great coach, and well, it's because the harmony's not there. So yeah. All right, let's go to some recent comments. TT says, might be overthinking, but I feel like Giuntoli is getting out of the way before we get penalized in court for the Osimhen case. No, there's no Osimhen case. We made a whole video about it with the Juventus scandal. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. But Juventus built a system out of that. They had over 40 transfers spanning several years where they were trying to make up the losses from previous transfers and fudging money around, and money that was supposed to be transferred over wasn't really transferred over. It was a whole system designed to keep this situation alive forever. Other teams have done it once or twice, and that's not a problem. The same way Napoli did it with Osimhen. Think about all the teams that sold players to Juventus. Wouldn't they be affected by this? So it's not a problem of doing it once, because no one can say you paid too much for Osimhen. Like, Osimhen ended up being one of the best players in the world, so we didn't pay too much for him. Maybe Lille paid too much for the Napoli players, but you could argue they were some young guys that had maybe potential. And Karnezis was a national goalkeeper for Greece, and he was included in this 20 million that Lille paid for us. So yes, you could say maybe 20 was a bit much, but when it happens once, it's not great, it's not ideal. Yes, it probably is shady, I'll admit it, but it's not like you didn't invent a system and you didn't continue to use the system and kept doing it over and over again, you know? But yeah, I don't think he's worried about that. And plus, after seeing what Juve got from the whole salary gate thing, they only got a fine. That's wild to me. That's actually wild. Ebe says Kulusevski could be good on the right. Would love to have Kubu. I feel like Kulusevski is gonna enjoy playing in England for a little while longer. I mean, Spurs bought him last season. I don't think they're gonna sell him immediately. Adzonto123 says I'll give him a chance. I saw some bad things about him when at an Al Nazar, but we'll be open and not judge before see what we get from him. Apparently the guy always wanted everything to be about himself, so he will make headlines to get attention or at least certain moves, but I hope he is a good coach. Look, the one thing I will say about Garcia, which I don't like too much, is that he loves to bring to the club players that have played under him before. But then again, all coaches love that. Like Sarri does that. Sarri did that with Hizai. Spalletti did it with Juan Jesus. Rudi Garcia is faulty of that. It's not a huge issue, but you know, something to be wary about. The other thing is, I was looking on the French Twitter side of things, and they were saying how when he was at Marseille and at Lyon, they suffered a little bit with injuries, and he was not amazing on the human aspect side of things, but he was a good coach for them. So yeah, maybe there's something there. What I will say that I like about him is that he's very anti-Juventus. In one of the games against Roma, I can't remember what season it was, probably in 2014, he said something like, oh, it's interesting how the penalty box for Juventus is 17 meters wide instead of 16, right? Because there was a foul called outside of the box. Well, there was a foul outside of the box that was called as a penalty against Roma when they played versus Juve, which is, it's nice to have coaches that have this, you know, thing against Juve, because I don't know. I mean, I would rather that than someone like Paulo Sousa, who's an ex-Juve player, right? Plus, Garcia is much better than Paulo Sousa, and I'm pretty sure that the whole Paulo Sousa news that came out 3 or 4 days ago, when it's like, oh, Napoli's closing in on Paulo Sousa, that was to lower our expectations. It was like, guys, anything other than Paulo Sousa, like, please, if we got Paulo Sousa, then I would have been like, yeah, we're not gonna do well. With Rudy Garcia, I feel like we'll get top 4 for sure. And let's see what the poll says. Let me end it right now. I think enough of you voted. 127 votes. I must say that there are only 43 likes. 127 of you guys were able to move the mouse and click on your favorite choice, but you didn't like the video. A very last minute video. It's past midnight. We're here talking about this. Man, it's disappointing. But let's end the poll. Let's see what it says. So the poll says that the majority of you think that we will get top 4, but not contend for the title. But a close second is that we will contend for the title. A large portion of you, 24%, says we'll not get top 4. And 8% of you have a mental issue and think that we will win the treble, which is just not gonna happen. But I appreciate the fact that you believe. I'm gonna actually assume that was a super sarcastic vote, and I'm gonna put you guys in the awful not top 4 category. So yeah, it's really split, guys. I mean, this is hard to call how Napoli fans are feeling about this. There's a sense of optimism, maybe not optimism, but there's a sense of let's give him a chance, and then there's a sense of despair, which is, yeah. But hey, there was the exact same feeling when Spalletti came, and there was the exact same feeling when Cannavaro came and when Kim came and all these guys. We were all like, either, oh, let's give him a chance, or, oh, this is awful, we're never gonna get top 4 with this, and all that. So yeah, let's see if there's any other comments. I don't know enough about him to vote, says Adzonto123. I mean, I'll assume that you're not super disappointed then, but then you're not super happy either. So I'll say you would have said top 4. If I was gonna force you to vote, you would probably pick top 4. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like that's very pretentious of me to think that I would know what you would vote, but I don't know. Maximus1318 says, I'll definitely give him a chance at the very least. All right, new poll. All right, I'm gonna ask you guys to vote on this one, and it's, how long do we give him before judging if good or bad? And I'll go with 5 games, 1 season, and maybe even like more. All right, so no, 1 season. Let's go. In the first season, how long would you give him? So new poll, cast your votes. Don't forget that while you cast your votes, smash that like button to show your support, to boost this video, to make me happy, and most importantly, because it's been scientifically proven that every like you smash, Napoli earn a point in the table. So let's get to that 100-point mark with Rudy Garcia, guys. Let's go do that. We're struggling at 59 likes right now. It's barely gonna get us Europa League football. That's really no bueno. All right. Let's go. Silvio SSG Napoli says, give me Scalvini as Kim replacement. Don't lose any other key players and a decent right wing, and I'll be optimistic. If we lose any other than Kim though, ... And he says Scalvini got dribbled past 4 times as much as Kim, makes a lot of tackles, but yeah, still young. Guys, Scalvini, I think, is not a better player than Ostigard. I will repeat, Scalvini, I think, is not a better player than Ostigard. If Kim leaves, I think we should give Ostigard a chance. There's a stat that in the top 5 leagues in Europe, Ostigard is either first or within the top 3 of most aerial duels won in percentage. Now, I know he didn't play a lot of games, but trust me, if he were to have played 20 more games this season, he would have still had a super high percentage there. I know defending is not all about headers. It's obviously not. But it's important. Like, things, like, every time the other team's goalkeeper pings the ball forward to their team, or the defender pings the ball forward, Ostigard's there. And, that's super important. Anytime there's a cross, anytime there's a corner, Ostigard's there. Anytime there's a corner in our favor, Ostigard's there. And in fact, he scored with a header in the few games that he played. I would play him. I know it's not all about headers, but I would play him. I also think that, yes, he could improve a bit on the ball, for sure. But I already saw some improvements. He played against Sampdoria. He had an amazing game against Sampdoria, I think, the last game of the season. Really solid performance. He also played at Anfield against Liverpool. Was amazing in that game. Crucial tackles. And I really rated him when he was at Genoa last season. When he came to Genoa halfway through, they went on an 8-game unbeaten run where they didn't concede a goal or they conceded 1 goal or something crazy like that. And this was a team that was struggling for relegation. So Ostigard is it, guys. He's it. Like, we gotta play Ostigard. I really believe in this guy. And plus, he's Norwegian. And you might be thinking, what does that matter? There is something about this generation of Norwegian players that every once in a while they're producing a gem. Haaland, Odegaard, why not Ostigard? Why not? All right. I know that's a huge stretch. That's literally like when you are trying so hard to make a point that you're like, yeah, Ostigard's a good player because he's from the same nationality as Haaland. Not my best moment, but trust me, guys. Trust me on Ostigard. Vincenzo says, problem is Ostigard and Scalvini play better on the right side of center back, which, yeah, is a bit of a problem because that's where Rahmani likes to play. But maybe he will adapt, or maybe Rahmani will adapt. But I think it's such a shame to have Ostigard on the bench. He's young. He could be the next great center back of Napoli. I wonder what happens when golden generations pop up, like Norway now, Belgium before, even Australia in 2006. Maybe what happens is that they've grown up watching, maybe like so whenever these golden generations come up, maybe it's because 10 years prior or 15 years prior, there was an incredible player from their country, maybe not an entire team, but an incredible player from their country, which got kids to play more football, like, I'm sure now, like, for example, if you're Norwegian, now you're watching a lot more football because of Haaland, and that will make you play more football, and that will increase the chances that more Haalands come up, right? So I don't know, maybe there was 15 years ago or 20 years ago a great Belgian player, and that's why they all popped up now. Maybe there was a great Norwegian player 10 years ago. I can't think of anyone, to be honest. So maybe the other option is that, I don't know, maybe the league or whatever, the governing body of the football association of whatever country we're speaking of, decided to invest more heavily in youth football, in programs, in whatever the case may be, right? There could be so many different factors. Even just, for example, if a country opens the TV rights so that you can watch games for free, that helps kids fall in love with the game, compared to a country where you've got to pay 100 euros per month to watch football. That also affects how many people in a specific country are playing, and then it affects whether you get a golden generation or not. I don't know. Maybe. But I am not what do you call people that study populations and stuff like that? There's a name for that. And they study like why why things like that happen in certain populations. Anyways, moving on from that topic, Vincenzo Bertillo says Kevin Danso, the favorite to replace Kim, I believe, has the pace we need. I'll have to study Kevin Danso a lot because I do think he's the favorite, but I don't know too much about him. So I don't have an opinion now about it. Apparently he's got pace. I trust Vincenzo, trust him with my life. So yeah, he's got pace because Vincenzo said it. Let's actually look at his FIFA card right now. That's honestly step one to my research. Look at someone's FIFA card. And then obviously I'll go watch videos. But, you know, just to get a... It's like when you have a research paper and you go on Wikipedia first. It's not like you're going to use Wikipedia, but just to get you started, right? Or maybe Wikipedia is a bit old school. You guys all use ChatGPT now. Oh, you guys, me too. But you wouldn't do something proper with it just to get started. Right, we're going off topic again. Kevin Danso, let's look at his FIFA card. All right. He has, let's look at his pace. Let me find it. Sprint speed 88, strength 89. Yeah, I guess that's pretty quick. Not amazing with the acceleration, 69. But you know what? I think that's maybe not updated to the latest level. That's probably how he started the season, and now he's probably grown a little bit. So I don't know. I'll look into Kevin Danso. I'll go look at some videos. On the one hand, I wonder how people are able to post highlights of players on YouTube without getting copyright strikes, because that's technically not allowed. And on the other hand, I'm grateful that they do it, because then I can do my research. But yeah. Masked says, I always sell Mavropanos in Football Managers, always plays bad, because TT says Mavropanos is my favorite for replacing Kim. I don't even know who that player. How do you guys know these players? Who is Mavropanos? That sounds like he's from, I don't know. I was gonna say Greece, but it doesn't sound Greek actually. Oh yes, he's Greek. Yes, there we go. My intuition never fails me. He's a Greek guy. He reminds me of Koulibaly speed-wise, says TT. I mean, look, Koulibaly was a bit more than just speed. But yeah, definitely it helps having speed. You can play with a super high line if you've got speed, so that's important. Anyway, if it's good or bad, I'll close the poll. You've got 3. End that poll. Let's destroy that button. All right, you guys are Juan Jesus. You guys are the most of you says 10 games, but then 35% of you says 5 games, and 7%. That's wild. No, surely, right? Like, surely you would give a manager the full season. You guys are. This season's a bit long, actually. Halfway, or 8th or something like that. 5th, halfway. Bad or good we're playing. If we got super unlucky, like remember that season. So yeah, super. I feel like halfway is like under control. I mean, think about, guys, this guy in April, so not even half. People were saying that they want him sacked. Milan, they go on a crazy streak in the Serie A. No one's talking about Inzaghi leaving, and there's same people that are saying like, yeah, Inter. All right, the stream is getting choppy. All right, guys, let's call it. But we gotta go. The stream is down. Guys, in the next one. But Rudy Garcia is sempre. Ciao.